Hi guys, this is Dr. Farjan. I hope you guys are doing amazing. Like always, it's such an honor to connect with you. Today, I want to share a simple strategy that you can use on dealing with difficult family members or challenging family members. Not every family is perfect, right? No family is perfect. However, some families have more dysfunction than others. And how do you deal with that? Especially when it comes to gatherings, especially when you want to keep ties with certain people and you want to keep your distance from others and set those boundaries. However, there's dynamics where everyone is present, right? Everyone is present. What do? Right? When there's those toxic, high levels of toxic dynamics within that family relationship. Number one, before you go to the event and after you go to the event, remind yourself what the dynamics are, right? Don't have this idealistic way of thinking of, wow, you know what, now my family is going to change. It's going to finally be perfect. It's going to be different. They changed. They're older now. Be realistic of what you're dealing with, right? Be honest with what you're dealing with. Who everybody is in that. Know your characters, right? Just like in elementary school age, with elementary school age children, educators teach them how to know the characters in the book. You need to know the characters that in your life or in a certain dynamic that you may be going into. You want to be familiar with that. Know your characters, right? That's number one. Number two, again, this is before and after the event. Before and after the event. Next strategy is relentlessly remind yourself of how amazing you are, of your performances in the past, your skill sets. Seriously sit there and list basically the goal here is to build your confidence, right? So know your characters, build your confidence, right? By relentlessly identifying all your great performances in the past or currently, your skill sets. So you might have to write down, I did this, I accomplished this, I did that. So you're building your confidence, right? So when you go there, you're not affected by the quote unquote catty behavior that may surround you by certain family members. Because you remind yourself of how amazing you are. It's very easy for people to come and use your insecurities, or especially by family members who know your vulnerabilities, who know your insecurities because you grew up with them, right? So really, really working on that confidence before you go to the event and then after, right? Number three, remind yourself that there's a saying, when you go to a lion's den, you're going to come back with some scratches. So reminding yourself that, hey, if you're going to go to these events where certain people, these certain toxic family members are going to be, you're going to come back with some cuts or little bruises because that comes with the territory, right? That comes with the territory. So again, preparing yourself. Like, all right, it's not going to go perfect. It's not. People are going to do what they do, especially certain people that have those toxic traits, and being aware of that, conscious of that. Next, I want you to remind yourself of this and really understand this, is that just like work dynamics, any group dynamics, there's always going to be unconscious individuals, be it family, be it work, be it a train ride, a bus ride. There's going to be unconscious individuals. Any group dynamics. And this applies to family life too. There's going to be those unconscious individuals. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't show up. That doesn't mean that you don't show up for the greater good, right? So you keep showing up for the greater good, even though there's unconscious individuals. Every group dynamic has that. As long as you identify them clearly, there will be no surprises. That ties back to what I initially mentioned. which is what? Knowing your characters. Know your characters. Number 1, recap. Number 2, don't live in like this false, made up, idealistic way of how your family is going to just change and you're going to have this, fairy tale family dynamic. Be honest with what you're dealing with. That's right? Be honest. That falls into the knowing your character. Number 2, build your confidence before and after. Number 3, remind yourself that when you go into the lion's den, you're going to come back with some bruises and cuts. That means expect the catty behavior, quote unquote, right? Know how people get into their roles in these toxic dynamics. Know who the bullies are. Know what the bullies do and how they recruit people into their little cliques. Right? Know that it's like an elastic band, right? The family dynamic it's an elastic band. If you put certain people together, they're going to go into their roles, the roles that they have been playing in that family dynamic. Individually, they may have better relationships with you, but when they get into that group dynamic, it's back to what every person's prescribed role, the roles that they've accepted in those dynamics. So just know that and be very aware of it. It's not personal. It really isn't personal. It's like this robotic state that they get into. And remind yourself of that. Next is keep showing up for the greater good, because you remind yourself that in any group dynamics, right? In any group dynamics, there's going to be unconscious individuals. And that does not mean that you're not going to show up. Right? That doesn't mean that you're not going to show up for work. You're still going to go out there and be your best self. Same thing. If there's a wedding and there's a family dynamic, a family event, and you just become very conscious of who the bullies are in the family, and then you show up and for the greater good, and be around those individuals that you do feel comfortable with. Those family members that do honor you and respect you, right? And use those other techniques like you do at work, zoning out technique, right? to really enjoy yourselves and show up as your best selves. All right, guys, I hope this really helps. Family is not easy. It's not. And we sometimes underestimate the effect that they can have on us. Because why? They know us. Right? You were a child growing up with these individuals, right? So again, this is how you can detach yourself. And the reason I say for you to do this work before and after is because before, to get yourself ready, but then after, because obviously when you come back from the lion's den, you're going to come back with those bruises and cuts, minor cuts and bruises. So you want to, again, remind yourself of who you are and who you aren't, because you don't have those toxic traits, right? Next, you want to remind yourself you did this for the greater good. You want to know your characters. You want to process it and then move on with your life. And the more you know as long as you identify them clearly, and you don't create, have this version of them in your mind, this idealistic version of them, then there will be no surprises, and you won't come back as hurt, because you're like, wait a second, I already know this. I already know how this group thinking works in this family dynamic. I know that there's going to be unconscious individuals. I know there's the bully, and then there's the clique. I know how it works. So you go in there well prepared and showing up as your best self. Take care.